Hey everyone, how is it going? Welcome to day 21. Today we'll be continuing with the Spotify clone and we'll try to wrap it up. So let me know how you guys have been doing. How was the break? And let me know how much have you been able to work on the clone so far? Have you been able to follow along? Is it interesting for you to work on such a project? You can let me know in the comments. Okay, so I'll just wait a couple of minutes before we get started. All right, so let's begin today's session. So far we had worked up till showing the playlists, right? And we were showing the tracks of a playlist. So this is where we had left this, and we are trying to make this particular title sticky, right? This part. So let's continue on this. Okay. All right. So for that aspect, let's begin with the so we were in the dashboard, right? Okay, let's get started. So a couple of changes are needed for the playlist header. Let's find those. Let's find that section playlist header. And we were trying to fill the content for the playlist, right? This is the section which is responsible for creating this part. And let's make some changes over here. So instead of a you know padding of 8 pixels, we'll use a margin of 8 pixels. Okay, and this is okay. And another small change that we will do over here is we'll pick a particular playlist id, so that every time we make a change we are coming back to this. So let's do that here. We are hard coding a particular value so that every time the page refreshes we do not have to click on the dashboard. So let's create a section here, the type, and let's comment this out. The type is section type dot playlist, and the playlist is this one. Okay, so this is the playlist id, and here let's copy this and comment out the original one. And here we will say that we want to go to slash dashboard slash playlist, and Yeah, the ID we will use from the section. So section. So we are just making this temporary change so that every time we are making a code change and Vite reloads, we have to click on, we need to go inside the playlist and we have to click, right? So I'm trying to avoid that particular step. Section dot playlist. So this is the URL, and yeah, so every time now when the dashboard is loaded, it will automatically take us to a particular playlist. Okay, so you can see that this part is working. Every time we do any change, it will directly take us here. All right. So we were looking at the playlist, right? So we changed this part. Instead of a padding, we used a margin of 8 pixels. And here also we'll change this slightly. Let's keep this to one fraction. And we want to give this a border. So border secondary. Okay, and we want this border at the bottom. So border hyphen B, and we'll give it a border of zero point 0.5 pixels. Okay, so you can see that this border is available. And for the navigation, let's give this a class and let's use a padding in the vertical direction of 2. Okay, all right. And then the other thing that we want to do is when we are scrolling on this, right? We are trying to work this out. Um so what we want to do here is we want to get the when we are scrolling, right, scrolling up, we want this title, album, and all, I mean this header basically to become fixed. So let's work on that. Let's get a couple of elements. So we want to do is const cover element, okay, which is this transparent element, right? The absolutely positioned element where it is showing the name. Okay, so we want to get this element, so we will say document dot query selector, and the id is cover, not convert, cover content, and we will get this element. We will check if the scroll top is greater than the cover element dot offset height, and from it we will subtract the height of this header, this, where we are showing this profile, right? So we want to subtract that height, so that variable is already available to us, right? We had taken it already. So header, we will subtract the height of this header from this, and if the scroll top is greater than, whatever is the difference of these two, at that point of time we want to make this playlist sticky, right? So let's do that. So this particular way of giving a arbitrary value, this was not working because when tailwind is passing through your files, it will not understand, statically what is the value of this. So this will not work in this scenario. It needs fixed values. Okay, so we'll do this part manually. What we will do is we will say that we will add the class sticky. We will say we want to give the background of bg black, and we want to give the secondary part of it, and we want to say that when it is scrolling, we want to set the padding back to 8. So the reason we are trying to do this is because if you look at the original Spotify, and when we are clicking on a playlist, okay, for example this one, As we're scrolling, once this title becomes fixed, you take a look at this border, and you can see that the once it becomes sticky, the height of sorry, the width of the border, it expands, okay, towards the edges. So that is the thing that we're trying to build over here as well, that when we are scrolling, we want this to extend. So initially we're giving it a margin, but when we are making it fixed, we're getting rid of the margin, okay, and instead we'll give a padding so that this remains in place. All right, so that is the thing that we're trying to achieve. So we're adding a padding. Then what we want to do is we want to say playlist header dot class list dot remove. Okay, we want to remove the margin which we had set, and we want to give it a top, right? So playlist header dot style dot top equals, we want to say dollar. We'll use the template literal syntax, and we'll use the header dot offset height. Okay, and this needs to be in pixels. So this is where the title should start from, right? The playlist header should start from. Okay, otherwise what we want to do is we want to do the opposite of this. Let's copy this and paste this here. Instead of adding these classes, we will remove them. Then we are adding this, and then we are um, so this we can say to revert. All right, so let's try out if this functionality is working. So you can see that once it reaches that height, it is becoming fixed, and it is the border is extending as well. So this particular functionality has been completed as well. All right, okay, and let's style the playlists as well. Let's fix all of these things. It's not looking proper even right now, so let's work on those changes. So where were we creating the playlist tracks? We were creating it inside this function, and here is what we want to do. We want to make some changes here. We want to set this to one fraction as well. Okay, and we want to say that the items are in the center, there's a gap, and when we hover over this, there's a light black background. Okay, and another thing that if you notice over here, that the topmost header, right, this becomes completely black when we are scrolling this. So let's fix that also before we come to this. So instead of bg black secondary, let's just make it as black. All right, so you can see this one is black, and then this is slightly contrasting. All right, and now let's get back to styling the tracks. Okay, so for the image, let's give it a height of 10. Okay, let's increase the size of the image a bit, and for this particular area, let's give it a gap of 2. And what we want to say is instead of using text XL, we will use text base. Okay, because it was appearing a bit too big, right? And here we will use text extra small, and let's style these as well. So for these, we want to say that the album and the duration, they are text sm, and similarly this one is text sm. Okay, and let's just check if the background is correct or not. And we have grid columns. I'm just verifying if the changes are done properly. Okay, so this is for that part, and let's also give a slight margin over here. So where we are loading the playlist tracks, this is the section, and let's use a margin top of 4. Okay, so there is a slight gap between the title and the playlist. All right, so this is how it will appear. And another thing that we want to do is we want to say justify center. Okay, all right, so all of this is coming in the same line now. So this part is working. Now let's start working on the play functionality for this. Okay, so what we will do now is when we want to when we are hovering over this, right, we want to when a user hovers over a particular track, for example this one, it remains selected, and once it becomes selected you can see this play button, or if you're hovering over it, you can see this play button. So let's work on this functionality now. So what we will do for this is we will move this inside a span. Okay, and let's give this a class. Let's call this as track number. All right, and for this particular element, what we want to do is we want to uh, create a play button. So we'll say play button equals document dot create element. We want to create a button. Okay, and we want to give this an id. So play button dot id equals play track, and we'll use the id, the track id, which is available to us. So we'll use provide that value over here. Then we'll say play button dot class name equals, so let's give this a class play. Okay, we want to give it a full width, so w full. We want this to be absolutely positioned. So the way this will work is we'll take a look as to why this isn't working properly. Yeah, this was missing. Okay, and here we will give this, make this absolutely position. So maybe yes, So we'll give this the absolute class, because what we're trying to achieve is when we are, I mean, this element is there all along, but it only becomes visible when we're hovering over this. Okay. So we'll make it relative. We'll make this element relative. Okay. We'll give this a full width as well. And we will say that we will use flex, and we will justify the items in the center, and we will justify the content in the center as well. All right, let's save this. Okay. And the other thing that we can do over here is these we can say that if it goes beyond a line, we want to truncate it. Okay. And similarly for these as well, we can use the line clamp as well. Line clamp 1, and the same thing we can do over here, line clamp 1. Okay. All right. So if it goes beyond one line, we are basically, truncating the rest of the text. And yeah, so we were working on this part where we were trying to position it absolutely. And here what we will do next is we will say from the left it will start at 0, and the text is large, and by default it is invisible. Okay. Only when we hover on it, it will become visible. And then we will say play button dot text content equals, I'll use the triangle over here for this. Okay, now let's save this, and you can see that if I remove this, um, okay, we are yet to append this element actually. So let's do that now. So we will say that play button, not the play button, we'll say that track dot query selector, we want to find the first paragraph, right, which will give us this. And to this we want to append a child, which is the play button. Okay. So now you can see that the play button is overlapping on top of all of these numbers, right? And what we want to do is by default we want to keep it invisible. Okay. Invisible, like this. Okay, so by default it's not visible, and when we hover over it, we want it to become visible. So let's add some CSS. This is something which it cannot be handled easily through Tailwind, so we'll write our own custom CSS for that. So each of these is a track, right? It has the track class, so we'll target that track. And when we are hovering on a track, right, this any part of the track, when we're hovering over it, what we want to do is we want to say that the track number, which is this element, okay, we want to set its visibility to hidden. Okay. And similarly, what we want to do is when the track is hovered, and we want to say that the play, its visibility becomes visible. Okay. So let's see if that functionality is working. So you can see now as I'm hovering over these, the play button is becoming visible and the track number is being hidden. Okay. So this is what we have achieved using this. And so this part is done. The next thing is when we click on a track, right, it should remain selected like this. Okay. So let's work on this functionality. So what we want to say over here is that track.add event listener, when we are clicking on this, okay, we want to get the event and we want to call a new function const on track selection equals, we'll get the, what do you say, the ID of the track, and we'll also accept the event. And let's link this function to this. Okay, so we want to say on track selection, we pass the track ID and we give the event when this happens. All right, and then what we want to do here is that we want to go through all of the tracks. So we'll say document dot query selector all. We want to find the tracks, and within that we want to find a single track. So all of the tracks that we will get, we'll say for each track. Okay, so this will give us a list of all of the tracks which are there. So let's call this as a track item, and we want to check if track item dot id equals the id, if it matches the track on which we have clicked. Then what we want to do is we want to say track item dot class list dot add. We want to add the bg gray class which we have defined in tailwind config, and we also want to add the selected class. Okay, otherwise what we want to do is we want to say that track item dot class list dot remove. We want to remove the pg gray class as and the selected class. Okay, and let's see if this functionality is working. So I'm clicking on a particular track. You can see that once I've moved the mouse, it is coming in this gray color. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is once a particular track is selected, the play button should appear by default. So let's add the styling for that. So here we will target that if on hovering as well as track is selected, right? And if when the track, and we want to target the track number, basically the number element, it should become hidden. Okay, so you can see that it has become hidden. And in this case what we want to say is when the track is selected and the play button, okay, in this use case, in this scenario, the play button should become visible. Okay, so now you can see for the selected track the play button is visible. All right, and as I'm hovering over the others, the play button is coming on hover. Okay, so this is basically allowing me to select a particular track. All right, and adding that class. Now what we want to do is we want to when we click on this, we want to play the song. So let's work on that functionality. So we had added this button, this play button, right? And when we click on this, we want to basically play that song. So let's take care of that functionality. So play button dot add event listener, we want to listen to the click event, and when that happens, uh, let's get the event object and let's call a function const on track on play track. Okay, and we'll get the event object as well as some more information related to to that track. And for now, let's just see the information that we need in order to play a track. So we need the we need the image for that track, we need its title, and we need the artists, and we'll need the duration as well, the duration of the song. So let's get all of that information. All right, so on play track. So first thing, we're passing the event. The next thing that we want to pass is the image. Okay, this image object that we have over here with us. Similarly, we want to pass the artist as well, and we want that to be comma separated. So let's do one thing. Let's take this value in a variable so that we can reuse it. So we'll say let artists name artist names equals the logic that we had earlier over there, and we'll use this variable here as well as pass it here. So we are passing the artist names, then we need the name of the song, right? We will need another property known as the preview URL. So let's get that. URL, let's give this an alias preview URL. Okay, let's pass the duration and the preview URL along with it, and let's also pass the track ID. Okay, and let's log this. Let me copy all of these. And let's see if we are able to get all of this information in the console. All right, let me open the developer tools, zoom this for you guys. Okay, we're clicking on this play button, and what are we getting? We are getting the image, we're getting the artists, we're getting the duration, we're getting the preview URL, and are we getting the name of the song? Yeah, so we're getting the name of the song as well. So all of this information we are getting. Now let's work on the now playing functionality so that we can start playing the song. Okay, and we'll come back to this a bit later on. Okay, so for this we'll go to the dashboard, and let's take a look at the original Spotify for a sec. So we can see that we have these three sections, right? One where we are showing the image, the artist info, and the name of the song. Then we have the audio control and some other controls for volume and a few other things. So what we will do is let's create a similar thing over here as well, and let's divide this into before we do that, let's give this a border. It has a border at the top, which is light black. Okay, then the background is bg black secondary, and let's give it a padding of in the horizontal direction, and let's use the text secondary, as most of the color which is coming over there is in gray. If you take a look at all of these, most the controls are in gray and all of these things are in gray. I mean, this secondary shade of black that we are using. I mean, this grayish color which we're using for uh, the text secondary class which we have defined. Now we have these sections, right? So within this, let's create a section, and this in turn has three sections. One for the this section we will dedicate to the song info. Okay, then the next one is for the audio control, and the last one is for the volume. Okay, so we have our uh, what do you say, the navigation, the now playing the part is appearing, and we wanted to give this a border, right? So this is only defining the color, and we need to specify the main class for border, so we will say border uh, t, okay, for top, and the width is 1 pixel, so let's use that. So you can see a faint border has appeared on the top. All right, and then for this, let's use grid over here. We'll say grid columns. We'll use an arbitrary value over here, and we'll say that the first section takes one fraction, the next one is twice, okay, for the audio control, and the last one takes up one fraction as well. And let's give a gap of 4 over here. And now you can see that each of these are coming like this. All right. Then for the next part, let's work on each of these individually. Let's try and style these. Okay. So what we need over here is an image. And then let's have another section. And within this, we will have a h2 tag. Okay. Let's give this an ID. Now playing song. So here we'll show the song title. Okay, and let's add a paragraph over here, and we'll show the song artists. Let's give this an ID. Now playing artists, artists. Okay. All right, so we have some basic structure available over here. Let's use the image tag. And yeah, so we have some space for the image as well. Let's give this an ID, and we'll specify over here now playing image. Okay, so this section is somewhat done, and let's style this a bit better. So let's give it a class. Let's call it, let's use grid columns, and we'll use arbitrary values over here, right? um, Let me zoom this a bit more for you guys. Okay, so what we want to do is the image will take up one particular column, and these will take up the remaining columns, the other column. So we'll say that the image is auto sized, and then we're saying the rest of the fraction will be taken up by this section. Okay, and we are saying that place the content in the center, and let's use a gap of 4. Okay, so some space is reserved. Let me give some alternate value here. So title, so you can see this is coming. All right, then for this we'll say class, we are going to use flexbox over here. We'll use the column direction and we'll say justify center. Okay, so when this is enlarged it will look something like this. And for the image, let's give this a let's give it a class over here. Let's give it a height of 12 and a width of 12 as well. And actually for now let's do one thing. Let's not give this a alternate. Let's just use a um, okay, so we can see that the image is there. The image is coming and we have some space reserved for the song title as well as the artists of the song. All right, and let's style these. Let's say that this is text. We're defining the size of the text for all of these, so we'll say text SM and font semi bold. And this, if you notice, this is in white color, right? So we'll use the text primary class, text primary, for the song title. And let's style this as well, so class, and here we'll use the extra small sizing for the song artist. All right, so this particular part is done. Now let's work on the audio control. Okay, so here what we are going to do is let's create id audio control. Okay, we'll say section for audio control, and here we'll say section for volume. All right, um so what we have over here is we'll create a section over here, and within this if you take a look, what we want to show is we want to show this previous icon, the play button, and the next icon. We won't be working on the shuffle and repeat functionality. You guys can try that out on your own. And similarly, we are not working on these two functionalities as well. It is something that you can do on your own as homework. So we'll just focus on building the next play and previous functionality and the volume related functionality. Okay, that is what our focus will be on. Okay, so here what we will do is we'll create a button. Let's keep this for play. Similarly, we have a button for previous, and we have a button for next. Okay, let's put these in order. All right, and what we are going to say is let's give this a class flex. Then we want to say items center, we want this to be vertically aligned as well as horizontally aligned. So justify center, and we want to and when we hover over this, we're saying that the text is primary. Okay, so you can see when we're hovering over any of these, it becomes white. Let's give these an ID. Previous ID equals play, and ID equals next. Okay, now for the icons, what we will do is we'll be using material icons for this. So let me open that link over here, and here we want to search for, say, the play icon. We're interested in this one, and let's fill it completely. Okay, when I select this, I can see it's how to use this. So I'll copy this style sheet. Let's add the link over here, and then to whichever element we want to give this show the play circle, we'll just copy this, and let's add this to the play button. Okay, so you can see the play button is visible now. Similar to this, let's add for skip next. Okay, let's copy this since we have already done this part. All right, and similar to this, we have the skip previous. Let's copy this and add this here. So these icons are appearing. Now the next thing that we want to do here is that give me a second. All right, so these buttons are appearing. Now we want to show a a progress bar. I mean, we want to show a timeline control which will play all of the which will basically show the the track and the duration of the song, how much duration of the song has been played so far. So we'll try and build this element now. Okay, so for that, what we will do is we'll add another section, and let's call that as the timeline. So let's give that the ID. Actually, we don't need to give this an ID. Okay, let's give this a class. It will take up the full width, and which is 100% basically. And we'll use flexbox. We'll say items should be aligned in the end. Sorry, item should be aligned in the center. So items center, then justify center. Okay, and we'll give it a padding of 1. And then within this, what we want to do is we'll add a span, and we'll give this an ID. The song duration completed. Okay, so initially we'll show the value 0:00, something like this. Okay, so you can see this is coming here. And similar to this, what we will do is let's create another section here, and we'll give it the ID, which is the progress. Okay, and after this we have another span, and we will say total song duration. Let's fix this as well. Song duration completed. All right, and here also we will show 0:00 initially. And in between we have the section for the progress. Let's give this a class. And here we want to say that it has a height h2, a full width, and the cursor is pointer. So basically we're trying to build this particular control over here. Okay, and it is rounded. Let's give it a, let's use border radius rounded 2xl, rather 3xl, and the PG is secondary. All right, so this is appearing now over here. Let's ensure that this is coming in the right place. So this is for the audio control. This is the first section. This is the second one, and they need to come one below the other. So let's take care of that part. So here we will say flex, and we'll say flex column. Wait. I think I am missing a top level control for this. Okay, and let's give this a let's give a gap of 4 between the two, and we want to say that the items are in the center. Actually, let me reduce this gap, and they are justified in the center actually. Okay, so we'll style this a bit more going ahead, and let's add a gap over here, a gap of 4. So you can see there's a gap added between the durations. Okay. And now let's work on the volume part. Okay. Okay, so let's give this an ID. Volume control. Okay, and for this we'll use a span over here. We want to use the volume. Let's search for this volume. Yeah, we'll use the volume up. Let's copy this. All right, so we see the volume up over here. Then let's style this, and before we do that, let's add a input of range, and let's give this an ID volume. Okay, and let's use the class. So we'll use the input range control to use that as the control for the volume. Okay, so we'll say bg green. All right, that doesn't work, so we need to custom style it, right? So tailwind classes are not working because this is getting styled by the browser, so we need to have different selectors for this. Okay, and let's say the initial value is 1, or rather let's say the initial value is 100, the volume is 100, minimum is 0, and the max is 100 as well. All right, so we have the volume control ready as well. Let's give some stylings over here. So class, we'll say flex, items, center, justify, center. So you can see now it's coming in the center over here like this. And let's increase the size of the icons. So we're not able to do that using Tailwind because the way these icons have been defined. So if I do something like text Excel, it has no impact on the size for these icons. So I am forced to use uh, a what do you say? We'll use the inline style over here. We'll say that the font size is 48 pixels, and let's copy this for the other buttons as well. Oops, I need to give this to the span element. All right, so these have become larger compared to before. And now what we will do is let's link this play functionality, and we will play the songs once we do that. And if you take a look, these track numbers, they are going beyond the elements. So let's fix this very quickly. So where we have our header, right? This one. Let's give this a Z index of 10. And similarly inside dashboard.js, where we have the playlist header, let's use the Z10 class here as well. And now you can see the numbers are going behind. Okay. All right. Now let's integrate this functionality. So I'll just copy these for reference. What is the structure? We'll work on this part first. Okay. So when we're saying on track, on play track, right? This. So I have all of these elements for reference. All right. Yeah, header position sticky is working, right? And since this was absolutely positioned, it was going ahead of that. And that is why we gave it a higher Z index, so that these numbers go behind these two elements. Okay. All right. So what we want to do over here is we want to get each of these elements by their ID. So const image equals, or rather playlist now playing song image equals document dot query selector. So we want to get this element by its ID, and we'll give this ID over here. Now playing song image dot src equals image dot url. Then we want to show the name of the artist, so let's get this element now. And here we'll target this element and we'll use this to display the song title. And similarly, we'll pass this ID for showing the name of the artist. So artists, and this one is for the this one is for the song title, and this one is for the artists. All right, so an hour has elapsed and the token is expired. That is why we were logged out. Let's log in again. Okay. And here what we will do is we will say that song title dot text content equals name. Okay. And artists dot text content equals, what is the artist names. Okay, so let's see if this functionality is working. Let's click on play and you can see that the image is coming and the title and the artist's name is coming as well. All right, so this functionality is working. Now let's take a short break over here. In case you have any doubts, you can ask me, and then we'll work on integrating this with the audio control. Okay, we'll start playing these songs. What happened? You guys are sleepy? What's the case? No doubts? I haven't looked into the part if they have any API which is allowing us to, show the ads. So we are just using a preview URL which will allow us to play 30 seconds of any song. And there's a premium version of Spotify. If you have that, when you create a developer account, you can play the full song. But since we are not going to buy the premium account, uh, this is for educational purposes, so that's why we'll be using the preview URL. So we'll be able to play 30 seconds of any song. Which package are you talking about? Which JSON package are you talking about, Ahmed? Yeah, it's getting intense. We are building, we are building small features and functionalities, trying to match the original website. And this will be the last project for JavaScript. When we are done with this, we'll move on to React, and we learn the basics. And when we're done with that, we'll be building more, enterprise level projects. And the coding practices, I've tried to, follow best practices while developing this. We have used, environment files. We have used proper naming conventions, uh, and we have used a lot of different things, like the history API. We're trying to give it a single page application kind of an effect over here. And you can see it's very difficult. As we are adding more functionality, the code is becoming, more and more complex, and it's getting more and more complex to maintain this, right? uh, that is where frameworks or libraries like React, Vue, Angular, they come in handy, because they solve this problem. They allow us to, write components. So we'll take a look at all of that when we go towards React. All right, let's wrap this up now. So what we will do is, let's create an audio control. So const audio will be, I mean, this is just, a visual element. What we want to do is, we want to, use a audio element which we are creating in JavaScript, and link this control with that element. Okay, so we will say new audio, not this audio. Okay, so this is the HTML audio element. We have created that. Let's get the volume. So we'll say document dot query selector hash volume. Okay, let's get the play button. Okay, so we'll say document dot query selector. What did we call it? Play. Okay. Total song duration. Let's get that element. Document dot query selector. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, so the total song duration, this is the ID for that. Let's copy it and paste it here. And similar to this, we need uh, song duration completed document dot query selector song duration completed. So we're getting each of these element because we'll need them when we are syncing them with the audio control, right? And this is, let's get the I think, yeah, let's get the progress as well. Progress, song progress equals document dot query selector, and we're getting this element by its ID. All right, so we have defined all of these variables. Now let's write logic related to them. Okay, so we'll set up the timeline over here. Const timeline equals document dot query selector. Get the timeline element. Where is our timeline element? Time. Wait, we forgot to add that. Okay, and anyways, we'll come back to this. Never mind. We'll work on the progress part and then we'll take a look at the timeline part. Okay. So on the audio, okay, what we want to do is when we click on this play track, right, we want to say that audio dot src equals preview URL, okay, and then what we will do is we'll say audio dot play, okay. So when we are clicking on any particular song, I don't know if you guys can hear this or not. I don't think my computer audio is being shared, but yeah, I mean, this is the piece of code which is basically responsible for playing the song. Uh, let's map this, as the song is being played, let's map that to the progress element. So what we will do is we will say that audio dot add event listener. Let's do that here. And we want to listen to the loaded metadata. That means once the URL has been loaded and the duration has been created for the audio element, this event gets triggered. When that happens, okay, we want to let's create a function const on audio metadata loaded. So when this happens, that is the time when we want to set the duration of the song, okay. So song total song duration equals inner text content equals audio dot duration, okay. We want to say on audio metadata loaded. Before this, we will remove this for the previous one, okay, because every time we will be clicking on play, this event will be added, so we don't want multiple of these events to be added, so we want to remove the previous one. So remove event listener load loaded metadata, and then on audio metadata loaded. All right, okay, let's see. When I'm clicking on this, it has added this to this element. Okay, let me check if I made a mistake over here. Total song duration, it was supposed to be this one. Okay, let me check. I copied the wrong ID. All right, so we're getting the total song duration over here in which is going to be, since we only have the song duration of, it's a preview URL, right? So only 30 seconds of it will play. Let's take care of this. Here it needs to be, where is it? Dot to fixed, we will pass 0, and we will just append this with 0 colon. All right, so 30 seconds. Okay, now let's work on this progress bar part. So we have the progress bar, and we'll use the set so let interval progress interval, we'll create a variable for that, and here we will say where did our function go? Play at the rate play. Yeah. So set interval. Okay, after every second, or rather after 100, after every 100 milliseconds, what we want to do is we want to check if the audio, if the audio is paused, we don't want to do anything. Okay, we'll say return. Otherwise we will say song duration completed dot inner, not inner text, we'll use the text content property, and we'll use the format time function, and here we will pass the duration, right? So audio dot current time. Okay, so this will give us the value in I think this returns the value in seconds. Let's see, let's save this, and we will say that the progress, yeah, the song progress dot style dot width equals audio dot current time, and we divide that by audio dot duration. So this is for filling up the progress bar, and if we multiply that by 100, it will give us the percentage completed. So we are specifying the width in percentage. Okay, and yeah, let's see if this is working. So we're clicking on this and only the log statement is being played. So the song is being played, I can hear it. um, this duration isn't being updated. Let's see why is that happening. Let's clear all the existing intervals. Okay, every time a new song is being played, we want to clear this interval. um, okay, if audio is paused, then return. If it's playing, then format time audio dot current time. Let's add a breakpoint over here. So it came inside this, and you can see that the audio has finished playing around 6 seconds. 6.47. Okay, so the format time functionality won't work. Okay, give me a song duration completed. Let me just check if we have song duration completed. And here also let's multiply this by 1,000. Let's play a song, and now you can see that it is the progress is increasing. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then hang on a sec, why is this happening? Let's click on play. 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, 5 second, 6, and after that it's getting reset. um hmm, okay, let's do one thing. Let's just use audio dot current time for now, and let's see if all right, so this is working. So the issue is with the function which we had written. Anyways, we'll get back to that a bit later on. Let's play a song. All right. and we'll just check if this is less than 10. In that case, what we want to do is we want to say 0:0 plus. So this is a condition. We need to say question mark, and then for the other part, we just return it as it is. Okay, let's click on play. Zero, zero, one, three, four. And if it's greater than that, we just want to display. All right, so this logic is, strictly related to the 30-second preview. We are not generalized it. If you get a chance to work with the full duration of a song, you will have to tweak this logic. This will only work, for 30 seconds. All right. So this part is working. It's going on now. Let's work on this progress part. What is your question? Song preview code earlier. So the preview URL allows us to only play a song up to 30 seconds. It's like a preview, a sneak peek of that song. We can't play the entire song because it requires a paid account. Okay, so that is why we are going with this preview URL. The aim is that you guys are able to you know play any song and use the audio control. That is the idea. All right. Okay, let's give me a sec. I'm trying to. Okay, so in order to track this particular part, what we need to do is we need to add the uh, let's come over here. And this needs to be inside another section. Let's give this the ID progress, and let's call this as the timeline. Let's give this a class. PG white with full and cursor pointer. All of this was actually related to this. PG secondary. So this is the original thing which we are seeing over here. And then this one is related to the the spot of the progress. So we'll give this BG green. Okay, and a width of 0, initially height of 2, and if we give this the full width, you can see we have the green progress bar, right? Okay, so we'll give this a width of 0, and we'll say rounded 3XL. Okay, so this is for keeping track of the progress, and this is for the timeline part. Let's go to the code and take a look. So we wanted to get the timeline element. So const timeline equals document dot query selector, get the element with the ID timeline. Then what we want to do is when we are playing the on play track, we're going to say that timeline dot add event listener. When we're clicking on the timeline, we want to do something, and apart from that let's leave this for now. Let's first check whether the progress functionality is working correctly. Okay, as the interval is progressing, song progress dot style dot width. This was the progress element with the green background. The width is initially 0. Progress, song progress. And this needs to have a percentage. Okay, now it should work. Hmm. So the idea over here was that as the duration is progressing, what we want is we want to increase the width. Initially it is 0, so say width like 10%, so you can see that it's 10% filled up. then initially 100%, so that it's taking up the entire, you know, uh, width. It's filling up this entire thing. Let's see what is happening. So this is getting updated. Then we are coming at the song progress, which is that element. Style dot width. All right, and this needs to be taller, and this is a variable. Okay, yeah. So now you can see as we are progressing, this is filling up accordingly. And you have to trust me, the song is being played. Right now I'm not able to share my desktop audio. Let me give it a try though from the sound settings, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's give it a try. Are you guys able to hear the song? You can let me know in the comments. Okay. Um, okay. Let me know if you can hear it now. All right. So, anyways, I guess we'll leave that part. You guys just have to trust me on this that the song is being played. Okay. All right. So, this functionality is working as we are clicking on a song, the progress is getting reset, and the song starts playing, and its duration is being. Uh, my voice has become high pitched. Okay. Input. All right, is it better now? You can let me know. Now the voice is echoing. Is the echo gone? All right. Um, anyways, let's not waste our time on those things. Let's continue on this. So what we want to do is, as we are playing a song, let's turn this into a pause button and let's sync it up over here as well. Okay, let's come here. And where we have the play button. All right. So here we have the play button, right? And instead of showing the play circle, we want to, let's go to the material and search for the pause. So pause circle, this is what we want to do. This is the text that we want to use, pause circle. Let me share this with you guys. Okay. Some of you are saying that you are still hearing an echo. Maybe there was a delay. Some of you are ahead and some of you are behind. Hopefully, all of you are, getting the same audio quality now. So all we need to do is we need to replace this instead of play circle. We need to replace this with pause circle. Let's do that now. So when we're playing a song, and the metadata has been loaded, we will say play button dot query selector. We want to find the span inside it and we want to change its text content uh, to pause underscore circle CIRCLE. Yeah. Okay. So you can see that the moment I'm clicking on play, this has become pause, and the same thing we need to do over here as well. So let's do that. um, so we have this ID, right? Let's pass this ID to this event. Or rather, let's do it from here only. Where is it? All right, and here once we get the ID, so this button has this ID, right? Let's target this button. So we want to say document dot query selector. We want to get the play track, and the ID is the ID that we are getting. as part of this event. And let's log this in the console. So we're getting null for this. Let's check. This is the id document.query selector play track id. It's not yielding us any element. Okay, let's check. So play track and then the id like this. Okay, I think I added an extra hyphen. All right, now we're able to access that button and we'll modify its text content. Dot text content equals for now we'll just add these two lines. Okay, so this is in sync as well. Okay, so both of these are in sync, and what we want to do is when we click on this, we want to toggle this, right? So let's add another event listener. Audio dot add event listener uh, play. Not play, sorry, on click. When we are clicking on this button, the play button, right? So play button dot add event. When we are clicking on it, we want the audio to pause, right? So let's pass a function over here, const on now playing play button clicked. This will get the id. And we'll pass it this id. All right, and here what we want to do is we want to get the play button, and we want to do the opposite of what we had done over here, right? We want to set this back to the play circle, and we want to set this back to this one. Let's click on, and what we want to check over here is if audio dot is audio is paused. In that case, we want to do this part, right? So what we will do is let's extract this inside a function const set update icons to play mode, update icons for play mode, and we will pass an id over here, and we will move this logic in here, and otherwise we will do this thing. We'll say audio dot pause. We will call this function. We'll pause the audio when we are clicking on this now playing button. If it is already paused, that means we need to play the audio. Okay, and we will call the function update icons for play mode. We'll pass it this id, and we'll do the same thing here. Update icons for play mode, and we will pass the id like this. So now this part is working from before. When we click on this, it has paused this, and it's restarting the audio and pausing it. So this functionality is done as well. Okay, so all the functionality related to the audio track is done. Let me know if you guys have any doubts related to this. And we need to handle this particular scenario as well, where we click on this again. If the audio is being played, then we need to pause it. All right. So here we'll check if the audio is not paused. Only in that, uh, actually, this should not happen here. We will just check over here if the play button, okay, which is this element, if it's being played, right? We will set an attribute on this. So we will say over here that document dot, rather than this we will just get this element. So const play button, play track button equals event dot target, and then we will check, we will set the state on this. If audio, so when it's called for the first time, right? So this should not happen here, where we are actually starting to play the song. That is when it should happen. That is uh, when the metadata has been loaded, and this is where we should do it. Okay, so play buttons from tracks dot set attribute data play, and we will do the opposite of that over here. We will remove the attribute, data play from this, and based on this we will decide whether to uh, update this particular piece or not. So what we will do is we will check const button equals event dot target. We will check if button dot has get attribute data play. If that is the case, we will do something else. Otherwise, we will go with the flow that we had so far. We will say audio dot pause, and we will move all of this in a separate function. Const update icons for pause mode. This will get the ID, and let's copy this over here. update icons for pause mode, and the same thing we will do here as well. And we need to pass this the ID. So another hour has passed and we have been logged out. All right, let's see. So the song is being played. Now let me click on pause. So it's back to playing. Let me click on play. Uh, hmm. So this functionality is breaking a bit. When you click on play, it works. When I click on pause, it pauses. When we do it from here, it resumes. Whereas we click on this play button again, so we need to maintain which song is actually being played. Suppose we click on this one, in that case, this needs to restart, right? Let's see. So we need to check if the song which is being played and the one which we are clicking on, if they have the same ID, then the behavior should be different, and in other cases the behavior should be different. All right, so let's do that. Let's keep the data play attribute. And what we want to do here instead is we want to check if it has the data play attribute and button. Let's get the button with the data play attribute. So we'll say document dot query selector data play. Okay, and we will check if button with data play is there, and its ID equals the ID with which on which this event was triggered. If those two buttons are same, right? In that case, we will say that we want to pause the audios. Otherwise, what we will do is we'll go with this particular functionality. Okay, so let's try this out. We are clicking on play, the song is playing, we're clicking on play again, it's getting restarted. Let's see, let's debug this. Play track. All right, let's click on this. So it's coming as null, right? So it should go in the else part. So this is working fine. Now when I'm clicking on this again, wait, it's still coming as null. Let's check if it's getting the data play attribute or not. This button never got the data play attribute set to it. Let's check why that is happening. Set attribute data play update icons for play mode. Okay, so we're getting an error. We did not set any value. Let's specify an empty string over here and let's try this out. Okay, this was the first time that we are calling it, so it is expected that. Now let's check if the data play attribute was set. So you can see that the data play attribute was set. Now let's click on this. Now we're getting that element and its ID is matching the element with which we clicked on. So this time we will just pause this. Wait, what? Oh, okay. It has the play track word associated with it. So we need to append this particular piece of line here as well. Dollar ID. All right, let's try this out now. And now both of them are in sync. And obviously when this happens, we need to remove the hang on a sec. So when we're clicking on this again, and we also need to check if the audio is, if these two are matching. So here we need to check if audio paused, then we need to do this, else we need to say update icons for play mode, and if it's paused then we need to play it, and if it's not paused then we need to pause it. So I'll say audio dot pause like this. Okay, and now when we click on this it has paused. Hang on a minute, I think so this needs to come here and this needs to go here. All right, so now it's resuming from where it should resume. and we forgot to pass the ID over here. That's why it wasn't working. Now you can see both of them are working correctly. When we click on a new button, so when that happens, right, we need to do button with data play dot remove attribute data play. Okay, and we need to check whether this element is defined. Now this song is being played. Suppose I go on to the next one and I click on play, then in that case it should resume, and when I click on it again it should pause. Okay, let me check whether this button's data play attribute was removed or not. It hasn't been removed, and this one has a data play and so does this one. Hang on a sec, I am making a slight mistake over here. Let's do one thing. Let's check for this. Let's set this to true, and when we are updating for the other mode, actually we will say over here remove attribute. All right, let's see. So instead of doing that, we'll say set attribute data play comma false. Okay, so this one started playing, then we clicked on this, then we try to pause it and it's not working. Okay, let's see what we're doing wrong over here. Let's do a refresh. This one was playing, so data play was set to true. Then we clicked on this one, so we're still getting the previous one. We are setting its data play to false. Then we're going ahead with this one, and we're setting this one's data play to true. Let me click on this now. It's still getting that element. I thought we had set it to data play true. Both of them have the data play attribute set to true. Which is odd. Give me a sec. Let's do one thing. Document dot query selector all. Whenever we're doing a new play, we want to get all the elements which have the data play attribute, and then we want to say for each button dot set attribute data play comma false. Let's do a log over here. Ptn console.log ptn. Now let's click on this next one. Update icon for play mode. ID is this. You can see that it's being called multiple times. That means there's an issue with the event handler. It's getting called multiple number of times. Let's see what is the reason for that. Load the tracks, then this is where we actually playing the track. Load metadata, we're passing it the ID. They're trying to remove the previous event handler. Okay, let's use a different approach of removing the event handlers. So remove event handler controllers. So there are different ways of removing a event handler and also adding one. Yeah, this one about controller. All right, let's try out this approach of removing this. So we'll pass a controller over here. All right, and controller about controller when we create. Using about controller to remove click event. Yeah, this is what we can do. Event type handler, and in signal we can pass controller dot signal. So we'll pass the same signal. Okay. All right. So here what we will do is when we are creating that event handler, I had forgotten the syntax for that. So on play track, and here we will say that signal, we will specify controller dot signal like this. And then when we want to, you know, remove the event handler, we can just call the about function on it and it will remove it. Okay, so for all the previous ones, what we will do is before we create a any add a new event, we will say controller dot about. So it should you know kill all the previously loaded event handlers, right? Let's try this out if this is fixing the issue. So playing this, all right. So we're still getting that issue. I'll look into this. For some reason, it's not working as expected, and I'll get back to you guys with the fix for that. It's some silly mistake, probably. But anyways, we have been able to, play a song, pause it, and it's working. All of this functionality is working on. The basics are working, just we need to work on the sync for this. The tracks are being played, and similarly, when we are going on the next song, the image and its artists are being updated, that song is being played. Let's sync up the code for the volume as well. Okay, so let's do that. So we have the volume with us, and what we will do is let's write the code here. Volume dot add event listener change. We will say audio dot volume equals volume dot value. Since it's an input slider, right, input range control, we'll just divide that by 100, and it should automatically update the audio volume. Let me try this out. So it's updating the volume as well. When that happens, as you guys can't hear the song, this is working, so you'll have to trust me on this. And similarly, let's work on the functionality where we are clicking on this, the it's progressing, the track, the audio duration progresses to that particular point. Okay, let's work on that. So what we want to do is timeline dot add event listener, and here what we want to do is we want to listen to the click event. When that happens, what we want to do is we want to get the timeline width. So const timeline width equals window dot get computed style. We pass it the timeline element and we get its width, and then time to seek. Okay, we get the offset x. Okay, and we parse int the width that we're getting. Okay, and we are going to multiply this with the audio duration. and then audio dot current equals time to seek. We'll say progress song progress dot style dot width. So we are basically from where the user has clicked. We're trying to find out how far the user has clicked, which will give us the based on the timeline width, and where we have clicked on it, we are getting the x offset. Basically, in the horizontal direction, we're picking up a point, and we are multiplying that with the duration and setting the current time for the audio control to that, and then we are updating the width of that element based on the time that we have, for where we have clicked. So here we are going to say audio dot current time. We'll use the same logic as before. We'll divide it by the audio's total duration, and we will multiply that by 100 and append a percentage here. So dollar, and we want this, we're passing this as false so that this happens in the capture phase itself. Okay, let's try out this functionality. So as we are clicking on this, the song is progressing or receding, and the progress is updating accordingly. So this functionality is working fine. Um, yeah, so this is all the functionality related to the audio control. Now let's work on this part where we display the image for this playlist. Let's work on that. So if we take a look at the original HTML, we have the cover content, right? So here we are displaying this, and this is the ID for that. Instead of displaying this part, we want to display different information over here. So let's add another article tag. Let's pass, or rather let's create a section, and we want to display the image of the playlist, and we want to display some information. So we'll use an h2 tag and a paragraph for this. Let's give this a class of grid, um, grid columns. For the image, we'll use auto and one fraction for the rest of the things. And let's give a class over here, text. Let's look at how this is. So this is the image. We have the name of the playlist and the artist, and there is some more information. So let's try and display that. So text 4xl, for example, playlist name. Let me comment this out. What is being broken? Not the page source. You want to inspect this. Let's check if what is causing this to break. Let me uncomment this. Let me get rid of these classes. Okay, that element itself was breaking everything, which is odd. All right, fine. We'll try and work with this. So id equals playlist id, rather playlist name, uh, id equals playlist artists, and id equals um, some more info. So playlist details. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to get the cover content and modify its inner HTML basically. So let's try and do that over here. Fill content for the playlist. Here we had created the we are working for the page content. Let's get the const cover element equals document dot query selector hash cover content element dot inner HTML equals let's pass all of this information on the fly. Okay, let's take a look at all the information that we're getting. So we'll say console.log playlist not playlist, and we'll identify the fields which are needed. um, so this is the description and the where is the name? Okay, this is the name of the playlist, and these are the images. Fine, so we'll make use of these to, so here we want to show the name, right? So we will say dollar playlist dot name. Okay, we want to show the image as well, so we need to go inside the images and we need to get the URL. Okay, so const image equals playlist question mark dot images, and we will pass the image dot URL. Actually, let's destructure this over here. So we need the name, we'll get the description, and from the images, and we'll get the images as well. And here we'll say images and 0.url. We'll pass the name over here. See, we are getting the image. Let's tone down the size. So class, actually let's try and use the object contain class and see what happens. Tailwind. Object fit, actually. Yeah. So let's use this particular class. Let's give the image some dimensions. So we will say object contain. Let's give it a height of 48 and a width of 48. All right, so we are seeing the image, and then we want to get all the artists. Okay, so any info about the artists at the high level, description, images, owner, tracks, and this is a type of playlist. Spotify, 50 songs, 5 hours, 50 minutes. So rest of the things are coming from the tracks itself. Uh, yeah, let's just show the artists and the number of songs which are there. Okay, so let's get the tracks as well. Okay, and here we will say that we have dollar tracks dot items dot length songs. Let's reduce this a bit. 50 songs, and for the artists we will have to go inside the tracks, the items, and yeah, it's a long one. Track, and once again all the artists. So for now, I guess we'll skip out this part. You guys can try that on your own because we are on short of time, and we have already looked at this section as to how to show the artists, right? So we won't get into the details of that. You can do that on your own. And what we want to do is cover element. Let's use flexbox over here. Flex. Oh wait, we are already using grid over here actually. Let's say grid columns to. So this one is for the image, and let's move rest of them inside a section. Let's see if and is creating equal sized columns, so we will basically change that to auto, and the rest of the space will be taken up by a fraction. All right, and from the from the top we want to have some padding, so padding top, say around 20, and yeah, so we're getting the image, and let's give a gap as well, a gap of 4. Okay, so this is for that part, and we can change this to somewhere around 36. Okay, so we are seeing the playlist image as well as name of the playlist and how many songs are there. You can add more details over here. So this particular functionality is done. We'll take a look at the issue related to this in the next session, and we'll be starting with React as well from tomorrow. So I hope you guys are excited and I'll see you guys in the next session. And for the doubts, we'll meet in the Discord channel.